Hello. All right, we're gonna get started. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to have you join us for this collaboration between Women Work and Calling, a national initiative of the Denver Institute for Faith and Work, and the Max Dupree Center for Leadership at Fuller Seminary. My name is Raven Carey James, and I'm the Marketing and Communications Specialist at the Dupree Center. I'm also a graduate student at Fuller Seminary studying social justice and advocacy. It is a privilege to see two organizations that care deeply about equipping women for wholehearted, impactful leadership across every age and stage of life. This four-part webinar series explores the challenges and opportunities unique to each distinct season of life through the experiences of women who have lived and led through them. This session is specifically dedicated to addressing the questions of women early in their careers and looking to build a solid foundation for growth. We'll be discussing topics like establishing a career in a rapidly changing economy, discerning God's will when you can't decide what kind of work you want to do, establishing an effective online presence, and securing mentorship opportunities from women more advanced in their careers. Our worlds and work are constantly in flux. At the Dupree Center, we've found that this leaves professionals, especially those new in their career journey, wondering what it may look like to flourish as Christian leaders in the marketplace. In my own life, as a young Christian professional woman of color, I've often reflected on how my faith, relationships, and commitment to doing my inner work have contributed to my success. Therefore, I am so looking forward to facilitating this conversation and hearing from two talented, faith-filled women who have learned to trust God, steward their work well, and come alongside others for their flourishing. So after our interview, we'll leave time for Q&A. So please, if at any point you have questions during the webinar, submit them in the chat. So let's meet our speakers. The first speaker I have the pleasure of introducing is Sarah Jackson. Sarah is a Level 3 Talent Management Specialist at Compassion International, a Christian nonprofit organization committed to releasing children from spiritual, economic, social, and physical poverty in Jesus' name. Sarah has her master's in organizational leadership from Gonzaga University, has served countless roles in talent acquisition, leadership development, and talent management, and has served as the co-founder and co-chair of Rising Talent, a young professional employee resource group dedicated to creating a community among employees with a passion for leadership. We also have the wonderful Christy Cosillo, a vice president and the head of early careers at Stepstone Group, a global firm of data-driven strategists and private market specialists committed to helping investors succeed. Christy focuses on helping interns and entry-level professionals find their footing in the financial industry and develop the tools necessary to thrive in their careers. Through her guidance, Christy fosters an environment where young talent can gain confidence, explore their passions, and contribute meaningfully to their teams. Thank you so much for joining me, ladies, in this vital discussion. With such rich backgrounds, I cannot wait to dive in. So how are we feeling? We're ready to answer some questions?
We're good.
Let's do it. All right, I'm gonna start with Sarah and then we're gonna go with Christy, but I just rattled off a bit of you all's resumes. So I wanna hear in your own words, briefly, in about 3 minutes or so, tell us what you do and how God led you to this work.
Thanks, Raven. And I'm just excited for the conversation. So thank you to Christy and everyone who is participating. I'm just as eager to learn from Christy and from Raven as I am to share with all of you a bit of knowledge that I've had in my own experiences. Currently at Compassion, I have the opportunity of serving in our talent management space. And so I oversee our global performance management process for approximately 4,000 employees across 29 different countries. It's pretty complex, but that's the joy of doing work globally. And the other part of what I do that I really love is overseeing our succession planning process for leaders across compassion. So being able to assess, identify, and then develop potential so that we have a really strong leadership bench in the future as we have more vacancies, as leaders retire or get promoted or move on. We want to make sure that we're investing in our internal talent pipeline. And Raven, to the question of how did you get there? Sometimes I look back and I'm like, how did I get here? I wish that God had, given me a clear vision or given me a prophecy or dream to know exactly what my life is going to look like, because I am a little type A and I wish that I just knew exactly how to plan for it. But that is not how God works. And so for me, he's really guided me, I would say, step by step through each season of my life. He's opened doors, closed doors. He's used mentors throughout my life to help guide me and discern and what's the next right thing to do. But overall, I would say when I look back over the different seasons of my life, I can see that God has made sure that there's really been a thread across all of them of wanting to make sure that what I do has a global impact, that we create environments where people can flourish and that people can feel developed to their fullest potential. So that's a little bit about what I get to do at Compassion currently and then what I do outside of work as well. Christy?
Thanks, Sarah. And also to just, echo a lot of Sarah's comments. Like, it's so exciting to be here. It's so exciting to be in a conversation with other women and other folks that want to support women early in their careers and to get to have a faith-filled conversation. I work in corporate America, and so conversations like this don't really happen. And so it's just so much fun. I work at Stepstone Group, which is a private markets firm, so things like private equity, venture capital, and I lead the team that recruits interns every single summer, and as well as off-cycle interns, like fall and spring interns as well. And we recruit globally. So right now we've got interns in the U.S. starting in 6 offices. Say a prayer. We have 70 of them ascending on us in a couple weeks. And then we've got interns across our EMEA and Asia Pac offices. And I was just telling the gals earlier, like working with interns keeps me young because they have a whole different vocabulary. They operate differently. They look at the world differently, and it keeps me young. And it's honestly so fun and so rewarding because I get to play a very small part in somebody launching their career into something that they think they want to do. And I think the other part too that and hopefully we'll get into this later, but there's also just like some of them just feel so much pressure about like I have to know what I want to do right now. And I'm like, you're 18 years old, go enjoy college, flirt with the boys, like go have fun, you know. Whereas like they just and then there's others that just la di da they just flow through the world and exist. And so it's fun to get to work with all different ranges of students and to play a little bit of a hand in helping to guide and like look at just because you intern here at Stepstone, you don't have to like it. That's
Mhm.
okay to give yourself the permission. It's okay to like rule things out that you don't like. Anyway, so then how did I get into this? Like Sarah, I felt like I just sort of fell into it backwards. And like Sarah, I'm very type A, and I wish that God would have been like, Christy, this is what you're doing with your life. But he's sweet and he's not like that, which is so kind for us type A's because it really forces us to lean on him and his guiding and his wisdom. But um, I went to Liberty University and I graduated in 2009 when the economy was not exactly the best to try to find a job. And so I just had to get a job to pay bills. And I honestly fell into this backwards. Like I started working at a career center at Duke University and I realized like, oh, students are a lot of fun. And I figured out that like from a personality and skill set perspective, sales would be a good fit for me. But when I thought of sales, I was like, ew, it's like dog eat dog, like shove each other out, like that just was not that's not my vibe. Like I love working on a team. And so when I realized that recruiting is basically sales, and working like being in campus recruiting, going to universities and selling the company is basically sales, but it has this like relationship portion to it. I fell into it backwards, and God gave me the job that I wanted at the right time, not my timing, his timing. And he's been really sweet. And then all of a sudden I look around and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what you've been in this space for like 13 years. Like I feel old. I still identify as a 22-year-old. So
And that's great. That's a good thing. No, I like the idea of the windy road of not really knowing where God is taking you or how this is going to play out. I have a similar story. You know, COVID-19 happened. I didn't have a job, and all of a sudden I'm at Fuller. So I have a similar story of like not knowing where God is taking you. But I think as we move on, right, we learn tools of discernment. So it's like, Sarah, like, how do you discern God's call on your life? Or like, do you have any tools now that help you along your journey?
Yeah, thankfully I've picked up a couple of tools along the way over the years. One thing that I really like to emphasize too is like discernment is not a one-time thing. So most people don't experience a prophecy of this is exactly what your life's going to look like. This is exactly the next step to take. For me, discernment has really been an ongoing process in relationship and prayer with the Lord. I also really believe that God does not create us just for one thing. I'm someone who have my whole life have been interested and really curious in a lot of different areas. And so I am really grateful for the fact that God created us as whole beings, yes, to do good work. And I'm very grateful to get to do that at an organization where I get to talk about my faith very openly. That's something that does really matter to me. But for me, it's also, how do I discern how to interact with my family, my friends, the hobbies that I choose to have, the places I choose to give money to? And so for me, over the years, as I've thought a lot about discernment and career, I have spent time going back to a couple of key resources, one of which is a book by Parker Palmer that I read in college called Let Your Life Speak. And for me, it really kind of reframed the way in which I look at the world. The author really writes about listening to your own life, paying attention to what energizes you, what really breaks your heart, and what brings you peace and excitement, rather than kind of looking around externally to say, what should I be doing? I really believe like God has instilled in us this like innate desire to do good and has equipped us with unique experiences, talents, and abilities to then go meet the need that we feel most passionate about. And so that has really helped me over the years as I've thought about what's next, what should I be doing, what's the right area to focus on is going back inward and praying and paying attention to, what am I feeling in this moment? What am I thinking about? And to that point of what am I feeling, I've really also learned over the years the value of listening to your body. I think oftentimes in US culture, we just think we can go, 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 and our bodies are going to keep up. But our bodies are really a vessel that we're called to take care of. And so that is something that has really been important to me, increasingly so over the years, is how are we taking care of our bodies? And what does that relationship look like between our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health, and our spiritual health? And so as I've made decisions over the years, I've spent time asking myself, like, how does it feel in my body if I want to apply for a new job or push for a promotion or look for to do something new? Am I feeling excited or am I feeling kind of my heart seize, my stomach drop? I want to pay attention to those physical signs that I do think the Holy Spirit gives us to pay attention to, what is the right thing, what is the wrong thing, based upon that time and season. And the last tool that I have when it comes to looking through a lens of discernment is I really try to have a personal board of advisors. So these are close friends, past mentors. Honestly, my husband, my spouse is on there. Dear friends and even coworkers who are individuals that I trust to speak truth in a way that I can receive it, with love and grace, but also, Sarah, what are you doing right now? Like, this is not on track with what your values are or what you say you care about. It seems like you've got a lot going on. And so I really like to surround myself with those individuals who can speak truth and kind of hold me accountable as I go throughout life to remind me in seasons where maybe there's a lot of stress. Hey, this is who you are. Be reminded of that. And that has helped me year over year as I've navigated different life transitions.
That's so good. Christy, you work with 18-year-olds that, discernment may be a very big word. How do you coach young people into listening for God's guidance with their career?
Sarah, I love that you talked about having like a personal board of advisors. That's normally one of the first things that I tell, interns as they're either getting an offer or they're thinking about, hey, do I want to come back to this company or what do I want to do with my life? Like there's just so many, like the world's so big and there's just so much to consider. And so, like you, it's surround yourself with 3, 4, 5, 6 people, whatever it is, people that know you, that love you and want the best for you and will come alongside you and join arms with you and pray. And so I love that. I was like, dang it, she stole my point. And then you talked about the body. I was like, gosh, I just literally just finished reading The Body Keeps a Score. And
Mm,
y'all,
Mm,
like I had to read it in small chunks because it was like mind blowing. And anyway, so but going back to the question, I think it's board of advisors. It's also to make it fun, I'm like, hey, like, go get a poster board, go get a bunch of magazines, and I want you to cut things out of the magazine that either you like it or you don't like. And
mm,
start arrange things and just make it fun because sometimes like so much in life can be like so serious and buttoned up and like almost create this collage of what do you like and not like and then put it together and then let's find the themes. What are the themes and the things that you don't like and the things that you do like? And a lot of times between a collage, praying, asking a lot of questions, it's like God, God, God's pretty clear. Like we don't thankfully we don't serve a confusing God. And so it's something that when I don't often get to coach believers, so it's a little bit of I kind of have to like coach them from a perspective of like, I don't know if you're a believer or not, but for those that are, it's, we serve a God that's not confusing.
mm,
And he doesn't want you to just sit and wait. That's not our responsibility at all. Our responsibility is to be up and pushing on doors and knocking on doors and seeing what doors open. And being not like aggressive in pursuing things, but be pursuing things with intention.
mm.
Um, I don't, at least in my life, I can't speak for everybody in my life. God's never just dropped something in my lap. It's always been me out. Hey, I'm going to try this. I'm at this store. Is this door going to open? Let me push on this. And you just sort of like try things until you get to this place of like, God, you're so in this. I can't ignore this. And take the pressure of like, you don't have to have God's will discerned for your whole life. You don't. You really don't. And like we hear that so much in church, like what's God's will for your life? I'm like, dude, I don't know what God's will for lunch is for me today. And that's okay, you know. So take the pressure off yourself and learn to enjoy how God made you first and foremost. Get to know who who God made you to be in your skill set. Take things like the Gallup Strength Finder test is a great one. Personality tests like the Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, whatever it is, like get to know who you are, and God will bring you the platform He wants you to be on. You just got to pursue it. So it takes a little work on our end, and sometimes the younger folk like the work, and sometimes they don't. So,
Good.
but the
That's so
work is good.
That is good. I feel like discernment is at the end of yourself, right? When you're like, I can't do it without God's help. So maybe I should just ask. Maybe I should pray. Maybe I should seek. So I like that proactive approach. But do you find, I'm going to start with Christy on this one. Do you find like what kind of challenges do you find women are facing in their early career that may prevent some of the discernment tools from happening? What's going on in their lives?
There's a lot of things. I mean, first of all, the first thing I think of is like social media. It's the devil. It is like there's so much comparison, and comparison is a thief of joy. And so I think first and foremost is social media, right? Like you cannot compare yourself to anyone else. Like that will just destroy who you are and it'll destroy your confidence. Um, I think there's also from a church perspective, like at least from my experience being in different churches as an adult there's not been a massive focus on helping women to develop careers. And we face different career challenges, right? Like whether you get married and then what if you have a kid? Like, okay, like, so then you got to take time off for having a kid. But then, I mean, I worked at companies where like women's bonuses were docked because they went on maternity leave to have a baby. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Is that even legal? That's not something that men would deal with. Or, like the challenge of I don't have children, so this is what my friends, tell me who have kids, but I want to excel at my career and I want to give my career 100%. I want to give my kids 100% and my marriage 100% and my church 100%. And that's like what, 400%? I'm pretty sure there's only 100% you can give. And so just women being pulled in so many different directions, and the guilt, which that's of the devil. The guilt that I hear women talk about. Like, I don't have kids and I'm not married. Well, I feel guilty for that. Why? Like, that's just the devil, you know? And so I think we hear lots of mixed um, messages from the church. And working outside the home is just as beautiful as being a stay at home mom and managing your household. Like, both are equally beautiful. Both equally have a kingdom impact and an impact on other people. Both do. It's just different. So I don't know if that's helpful or not.
Definitely, definitely. Sarah, what would you add to that? Anything about any key challenges you're seeing women face?
Yeah, I think what Christy shared is so important. Like the fact that there are so many different paths that women can take today, which is amazing. That wasn't always the case in our society. And yet we still have a far ways to go in our society for full equality. So when I think about like what are some of the challenges, I think of some of the contextual elements of, the culture that we live in. The fact that, in the US, we still have pay inequity. March 25th was Equal Pay Day this year. So typically for every dollar earned by a man, women earn 83 cents on that dollar. And so there are some of those challenges that exist, even though we're starting to see more women actually graduate college at increasingly higher rates. We're not necessarily seeing that translate to then women having equal pay upon their first job, or when they have to step out if they choose to have children later in life, or they need to take care of their aging parents. There are different societal expectations that shape some of the expectations women have of themselves, but then also people have of women. I'm a stepmom, so I don't have my own biological kids, but I have a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old. And I'm laughing because on my phone right now, I literally have an Excel spreadsheet of like over the next 7 months, 7 of my closest friends are having babies. So we're in this season of having lots of baby showers, lots of babies. And I'm just watching my friends navigate seasons that they've never been in before, that I've never been in. I'm a mom, but I am a stepmom. Like, I'm not a birth parent. And so it's been so wild watching how different organizations have either really well supported my friends as they, are in leadership positions, trying to get ready to, go on maternity leave, set up their team for success. While I have others that are not sure, like, am I going to be getting paid during this time? How does this work? And it also depends state by state. And so when I think about some of the challenges that women experience, like, women are the ones that are birthing the children of the next generation, and men don't have that same experience. And yet we as a society still have not reached a place compared to some other more progressive or advanced countries, perhaps like Denmark, where we have systems and processes in place to support women staying in the workforce if that's what they want over time. And so I would love to see us continue to push into that. We're seeing more legislature get introduced, but I would love for there to, one, be equal pay for what women and men do. I don't know if some of you have seen this video. It's really cute, of these like little kids doing the same job, and then they're rewarded with candy, and the boys jar is like so much more full than the girls, and they look at each other, they're like, what? That's not fair. And even as kids, they recognize the fact that, we both did the same thing. Why are we not being compensated for that? And so that's one thing that I think is a challenge for women, is the pay inequities, but then also that work-life balance component of, to what Christy talked about. I wanted to do 100% in all of these different areas, but we really only have 100% to give. And so what I like to think about when I think about life is not static. We don't stay the same. There are different seasons in life. And so in different seasons of life, you'll have differing priorities. So perhaps early in your career, you are really focused on your career. Maybe you're focused on like establishing a new community if you've moved to a new city. Maybe you're newly married, so you're focusing on your marriage, what have you. That's going to be really different in your early 20s versus when you're in your mid 40s. You'll likely have some different priorities. And so I like to think about, I care about all these things, but I can't do all of these things at 100%. And so right now, here's my priority list. Let me check in with myself. How is it going? Is how I'm spending my time actually in alignment with what I say that I care about? If not, great, time to make some adjustments. And then take a look at that, every like 6 months, 12 months. That's something that we do, my husband and I, to make sure that our priorities are in sync for our family, for ourselves individually. And the last thing they'll say on this, because I could speak on this for way too long, is that women often don't take care of themselves very well. We're really focused on taking care of the people around us, and that's part of the societal expectations. And so I'm really big on self-care and making sure that you do things for yourself that are going to set you up to be successful. So saying no to a late night happy hour if you know that alcohol is going to make you not sleep well the next day, which I'm not against alcohol. I eat and drink and do all the things. But making good decisions that are going to help you be set up for success, to be your healthiest, to be able to show up in the way that you want to show up, so that you're getting your 8 hours of sleep, you're able to get some sunshine, and you're not sitting at your laptop for like 8-9 hours a day. And so choosing good small practices that are going to support you to show up the way that you want to be seen by the people that you care about around you really matters. And women tend to not care about themselves or prioritize that time. And so I'm really big on pushing that as a part of being successful in life, like over the long haul.
Mhm. That's good. I definitely want to leave some room for questions. So if anyone has questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. But real quick before we do that, I kind of want to merge the last two questions because we're talking about mentorship and we're talking about women who struggle to be seen or taken seriously in the workplace. So, real quick, do you have any advice for women who are struggling to make their mark and they're looking for help? Like, if they're trying to make that mark by themselves or if they're looking for a mentor, do you have any advice for like finding a mentor or hitting their stride when they're trying to assert themselves in the workplace? I'll start with Sarah and then we can go to Christy.
So thanks, Ruben. For me, I'll focus on the mentorship aspect of the question that you posed. This is something that is very near and dear to my heart. I've been really privileged to have many mentors over my life, starting from middle school, speak into my life and help shape me into the woman I am today. And I always am trying to turn around and give that back to others around me because it has had such an impactful experience on who I am. Oftentimes when I'm having conversations with earlier career employees that are looking for mentorship, they're like, I don't even know where to start, or I'm really intimidated to ask this, senior vice president if they'll be willing to sit down and have lunch with me. And I think sometimes we overcomplicate something that can actually be pretty simple. One thing, first of all, it's like we're all people. So like, yes, people have different titles, but that doesn't mean someone is worth more than you are. Everyone is created equal in God's eyes. And so don't be nervous just because someone maybe has a higher title than you. And the other thing when it comes to talking about thinking about like, how do I look around the organization and figure out like who could be a good mentor? One of the things I like to say is like, start by asking yourself, like, what are you looking for? Because there is importance in knowing like who you are and what direction you think you're headed in so that you can find someone who maybe is a couple steps ahead of you to then, ask those questions, be curious and meet with them. And so I recommend that people start with curiosity about like themselves and other people. And so rather than just kind of reaching out blind, sending an email to someone that you've never met with before saying, hey, will you mentor me? That's a really hard ask because this other person doesn't know you, doesn't know exactly what you're looking for how long is the commitment, what does this look like? And so most people are like, I don't really know if I want to say yes to this because I don't really know what it means. And so I really like to guide early career employees to talk about, would you be willing to sit with me for 30 minutes and have an informational interview? I would love to know a little bit more about like your work, what you do, what brought you here. And then if you have that meeting and really hit it off and feel like there's some synergy between you and that other person, you can follow up to that meeting like with a simple email, thanking them so much for their time, what you took away from that session. and then saying, hey, I actually would really love to meet with you a couple of more times. Would you be willing to mentor me over, 4 to 6 months, meeting once a month for about an hour? I would come in advance, with questions so that we would be able to have a really robust discussion. I would be happy to like schedule this for you. So make it a really easy yes, and make it really clear what you're asking for so that the person on the receiving end can say, I would really love to do that. Let's make time over the next couple of months to do that. Or actually, this isn't a great season for me right now. Like maybe someone's really over capacity, which should be respected. And so maybe the person says like, hey, I'm not available right now, but this other person that I know actually could be a really good fit based upon what you've shared with me, what you're interested in learning and growing in. Or the next 2 months are really crazy for me. Can we start this in about 3 months? Would that work for you? And that allows there to be not just a maybe like yes or no, but maybe not now, or here's another person that you could connect with. And so then you'll have those conversations over those periods of a couple of months, and you'll be able to build relationship and learn and grow. And then at the end of the time, I really like to, I'm type A, so I like to formally close out like, thank you so much for meeting with me over the past couple of months. Here are a couple of things that I'm really taking with me. And then you can also discern, like, is this person someone that you're going to want to stay in relationship with, and evaluate what the frequency of staying connected looks like. Or, maybe this person was a great mentor for the season of life and you're moving on to the next season and you can still thank them for your time and then kind of move on. So that's what I like to kind of just outline, because it can feel scary to get started and you don't know how. But I like to say everyone's equal. Here's a couple of steps on how to get started by reaching out. And then you never know who else they're going to connect you with and the experiences that you'll have and the takeaways, because you'll have a conversation maybe one day that puts you in an entirely different direction to what you thought you're going to be spending your time doing. And now a whole new world has opened up that you never would have known about if you hadn't had that conversation with that mentor.
Mm. Christy, besides mentorship, like what advice do you have for young women who are struggling to be taken seriously in the workforce?
It's hard. And I think just acknowledging that it's hard. Um, there are a few things that come to mind when I think about like how would I want to be a leader in the workplace? Well, I'd want to be known for having excellent work, right? We don't work for the company that, I mean, we do, but like you ultimately work for God, right? So is everything that is coming through your inbox, any type of like projects or presentations or whatever, is it truly done to the best of your ability? Because when you do things to the best of your ability, to the glory of God, um, you sort of just naturally fall into this place of like, hey, like what's going on with her? Like she's producing some really good work, and then it creates opportunities, honestly, to then like have conversations of like, hey, why are you doing such good work? So I think that's the first thing that I think of is like just having excellent work, and allowing that to be a reflection of what God has done in your life and the skills that God has so generously given you. I think the other thing that comes to mind as well, and I was like nodding as Sarah was talking because I was like, gosh, like Sarah and I are new friends, but she basically like we have the same brain. Like she took everything I was gonna say. The other thing that did come to mind as Sarah was talking is there is something, and for the men that are on the call, there is something so incredibly special about having what we call in the HR space is like a sponsor. So you have mentors that kind of help you guide through, maybe it's through a particular conversation or you're trying to get promoted or like certain situations, but to have a sponsor of somebody who I see potential in this person and I want to sort of take them under my wing, if you will, and bring them to the table, and that is one of the most valuable things. My current manager does that. And even this morning we were talking about something and I kind of brushed off something that I did. He's like, you did that over 2 years. And I was like, yes, I did. And so that sponsorship piece is so important. So yes, the mentorship is important. Be bold and ask for that mentoring opportunity, but also look around and see what are the men that are a little bit more senior than you doing, and is there a relationship there where it could become like a sponsorship opportunity, to create opportunities for you to have space at maybe a table that you wouldn't necessarily have. um And it's so valuable. And I think the other thing too is like, do not be afraid of reaching out to people that are more senior. I know Sarah already talked about this, but y'all, like, just because they're more senior than you doesn't mean that they don't eat breakfast or get coffee. It doesn't mean that they don't eat lunch. It doesn't mean that they don't enjoy going for a walk or whatever it is. Like, they are normal humans just like you. They've just lived a little bit more life. And so to take the pressure off of that, of like, the be bold and ask for things like, hey, can I take you to lunch, or hey, can we meet for coffee? And I think that boldness will pay off. And I know it can be intimidating. It's intimidating for me too. My mentor here at Stepstone is our general counsel, and she's this like bad boss lady. And she's just, I was a little intimidated to email and be like, hey, so I know we've met a couple times before, but this is what I've seen you do. And this is what I'm trying to grow in. And do you just potentially have a couple hours over the next month or so that I could pick your brain on this? And she wrote back within like 30 seconds, sure. And she had CC'd her admin, let's go. You know what I mean? And so like, be bold. Be bold. And like as women, like imposter syndrome is such a thing. And imposter syndrome is just the devil, and he is a jerk, and we don't have to listen to him. So
Amen.
don't listen to that imposter syndrome.
Amen. Amen. All right. Thank you, ladies, for that fruitful conversation. I know we want to get into some questions. So our producer, Naomi, has been collecting the audience's questions. Naomi, what would you like our guests like to, what questions do we have? What are we asking here?
Hi, everyone. Excuse me. So for Sarah or Christy, Sarah, if you wanted to start first, do you guys have any advice for making a career change? Becca wanted to know.
This is a great question. So when I think about making a career change, I think about like taking a step back and taking some time to kind of internally assess, why, like what's causing the desire for a career change? Like, what are you noticing that you do like, that you don't like, that you're feeling like, oh, this actually is really draining for me, or I'm noticing this other thing is giving me energy. I again kind of type A organized. So like I would honestly like write out like here's what I'm noticing I don't enjoy doing anymore. Here are things that bring me a lot of energy and joy, and I find myself in a state of flow. When you like lose track of time, you're just enjoying it, you're doing it, comes naturally, or you feel like a lot of purpose in what you're doing. I would start by taking inventory of what that is, and then I would say, here's what I'm seeing, who's like doing some of this work, and how can I meet with them to start to learn a little bit more about like what their world looks like. I think I work in HR, like you're never going to find a job that hits 100% of everything that you want to do. Like we are all working for our jobs. We want to do good, but we're also working for a paycheck. I don't know if I would wake up every single day and do exactly what I do at work just for free. And so I really like to coach myself and others trying to find a role that hits about 70% of the work that I enjoy doing, where I can use my strengths, my skills, my expertise, my education, but also that I'm challenged in different areas. I'm someone who gets bored pretty quickly in work. And so I always kind of need something new to keep me engaged in learning and growing. And so I look for opportunities that are going to stretch me and expose me to other areas. And so I share that with you, Becca, to say that you have so many skills and your life so far has really equipped you to be successful in the way that you have been so far. And it's okay to take a step back, take some inventory, meet with people that you think are doing work that you would be interested in doing, validate it. Like, is this actually as good as I think it is? Or, oh, after meeting with that person, it's not exactly what I thought. That'll help you get a little bit closer to finding, what is going to be the next right thing. Again, we're not going to know what we're going to be doing for the next 10 years, especially younger generations. We tend to transition after 2 or 3 years across organizations and roles. And so that's to be expected too. Going back to one of my first points is we're not created for just one thing. And it's okay to do a job for a couple of years, decide this isn't it for me, and then to transition to something else that's a better fit for your life, for your season. The last thing I'll say on this, I have not actually had this experience, but one of my friends is going through experience right now where she's meeting with a career coach, and I've heard how valuable that experience has been for her. And so you also can look for, specialists that actually, this is what they do, is they help people kind of re-navigate or make a pivot in their career. I've heard that's been really helpful as well for women. But I would love to hear what Christy has to say too to that.
Well, we have the same brain, so I was thinking all
I
of those
know.
things. No, so Becca, the other thing that came to mind for me is use your network, right? Like, are you on LinkedIn, and how much are you on LinkedIn? Who are you connected with? And kind of honing in more on the thing that Sarah said about reaching out to people who are in jobs that you might be interested in. Like, use your school network if you went to university. You can use like high school networks, you can use church networks. Like, you'd be really surprised how big your network really is when you start to kind of sit down and think through, like, okay, who do I know? Or maybe I don't know this person, but I know this person who knows this person, and I bet they could do an intro for me. Um, so absolutely use your network, and like LinkedIn has some really good search functions that you can utilize. And I would echo the coach thing. Um, a lot of universities offer coaching for alumni. So if you went to university, that's one place you could start and see if there's an alumni coaching session that you could get for free. And honestly, too, the other thing is like prayer. Like, God, God knows the plan He has for you, and spend time praying and like invite others in to pray with you on like, what does this change look like? I have a friend here in Charlotte who was she was working in the healthcare space, and she desperately wanted to get out of it. And so it's like, hey, like, I can help you however I can. Like, yeah, I can look at your resume and I can introduce you to people, but honestly, like, I can commit to praying for you at 9 a.m. every Wednesday, and just spending 5 minutes praying, like, hey, God, like, give her a connection this week. Make it a job. Like, applying for jobs, like, it goes into a black hole. Let's be honest. I manage those black holes. And so um just spend a lot of time praying, and trust that God will provide what He wants with the platform He wants you on at the right time. And I don't know about you, but that trust is hard for my control freak type A nature.
Naomi, do we have time for one more question?
Oh, we definitely do. I actually got a couple more for us if we
Let's hear it.
have time, depending on the answers. But yes, change is so hard, and thank you guys both for sharing. Change was something that will be with us throughout the rest of our lives. So something we need to learn how to manage the tension of. Aubriana and Sandra both had a similar question that I'm going to try to combine, which was basically how to use the skills and experience that you currently have to go after jobs that might seem a little bit more of a stretch, and kind of any advice for getting comfortable with the discomfort of trying something new or something that might be a little bit beyond your current capacity. But Christy, the recruiter, I would love to hear your response to this first.
Yeah, I just spent 3 years doing this. The job that I'm in now, like, I was legit shocked that I even got a phone call when I applied for it. And anyway, you know, I just go back to the be bold. Surround yourself with people that are encouraging to you. I spent my first 2 years working here was incredibly painful, and I was being stretched not just from like a skill set standpoint of like, oh hey, can you really truly manage a team? And oh hey, can you really handle global recruiting? And oh hey, can you do, and it just like all the things kept piling on. And I had to truly, like, it was a place like God brought me here because He wanted to stretch me and grow me and challenge me. And so, you just you got to get uncomfortable, or you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And it sucks. Like, there's no other way to describe it other than it's hard. And in those moments, like, I just encourage you, like, seek the Lord, because it will be hard. Um, and don't undersell yourself. Like, as women, like, that's all we do. We undersell ourselves. We won't negotiate job offers, and we won't, you name it, we won't do it, because if we won't apply for a job unless we meet 100% of the criteria. No, if you meet 30% of the criteria, apply for the job. Who cares? Like, like, men do that. So why don't we? And so um remember that your skill set is probably a lot better than you think it is. And then if it's not, like trust that God will give you it. God will get you through. And I've spent the first 2 years being here going, God, what have I done? What are you doing? Are you sure you're in control? I can't do this. So anyway, Sarah, do you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just laughing because a lot of what you shared resonates. I think all the time, like, yes, I have an undergrad in psychology, my master's in organizational leadership, and yet, there's not really like formal training for the job that I'm doing. Like it is so much on the job learning. And I tell people all the time, I only learn by saying yes to something that I've never done before and trusting that my past experience and my tenacity and my courage to be brave and to ask a lot of questions to make sure I'm really understanding what the ask is. All of those tools come with me in every single job. So every time I take on a new project or a stretch experience where I'm doing something I've never done before, I know that I'm not starting from ground zero. I'm starting a couple steps ahead. Maybe I haven't done this exact work before, but that doesn't mean I don't have the equipping to be able to do it well. And to the question, I think it was phrased around like, how to like bring your experiences into like a new job if you haven't done that job. One thing that I really like doing is I really like raising my hand for stretch experiences. So kind of like staying in the safety of my current role, but saying, hey, I'd really love to work on that project. Here's how I think I would add value. Here's what I would be able to bring back to my team. So I'm getting that work experience without like formally applying to a new job as like a project manager or working in diversity and inclusion or what have you, but I'm starting to acquire these experiences that I can add to my resume so that in the future, if I decide I really want to go into project management, I have all of these examples about how I've utilized project management skills in the past in my work, even though I've not formally had that title. And so I'm really big on trying to do what you can within your current role to prepare you to be successful to make that transition, especially if it's a bigger jump. And I think it's good to get some experience and practice and coaching, even if that's an opportunity for you at your organization to say, hey, project manager, would you meet with me or could I shadow a couple of meetings? Like you're going to be able to feel much more set up for success if you've had some time to practice and learn before immediately jumping into a job that you've never done before, like what Christy was mentioning, feeling like that's a lot. And you can do it multiple ways. There's no right way or wrong way. Just myself as someone that's maybe a bit more security oriented, I like to go the stretch route to say like, let me try this first and then decide if I actually want to go for a big jump like that.
That's great. Thanks so much for sharing. Oh, Raven, go ahead.
Yeah, can I just piggyback off that real quick? I really liked what Sarah was saying about stretching yourself, and I would say just never stop learning. Like if you're really interested in something, pick up the book, take the online course, devote some time. I'm a fan of a side hustle, I'm always like looking for, oh, if I'm not really doing that in my regular everyday role, what can I do on my personal time that I'm really interested in? If that's making a quilt or whatever the case may be, how can that grow into a full-blown thing later? So I really like that idea of stretching. So sorry to cut you off.
No, not at all. That is great advice for sure. I think we have time for two more. So if only one of you guys want to answer it, that's fine. But it's so ironic. We're sitting here on a webinar together, and so many people are now working remotely, fully, or hybrid. And so, do you have any advice? This one, oh, I didn't write down the name. I'm so sorry. But how do you connect with people? How do you build relationships when you're working fully remotely?
That was from Shelby. I have that one on my side. So Shelby, that was your question.
Thank you. Thanks, Shelby, for submitting that. Yeah.
I could tackle this one if you want to tackle the next one, Christy.
Yeah.
So I'm big on loving to meet in person, but also that is just like not realistic when you live millions of miles away, maybe not millions, but hundreds of miles away from the people that you work with or even your friends. And so to the point of like, how can you stay connected when working fully remote? When our organization went to fully remote, I started setting up coffee chats with people. So I would truly, again, type A, I would have a goal of like each month, I would say who are 4 or 5 people that are outside of like my team, my department, that are people that I want to continue to get to know or keep relationships with that we had in the office, or to meet a new hire that has just joined. And I would send an email invite saying, hey, would you be open to meeting for a 30-minute virtual coffee? like, let me know what would work for you. I'm happy to get that scheduled and set up. And so I did that pretty consistently for about 2.5 years before then I started school, and school took over my life. But that was a huge tool for me in staying connected and also staying in the know about what's going on across my organization. Because if I just work from my basement, which I'm in every single day, I'm not going to know what's going on unless I really like put myself out there and try to meet with people that are working on different teams, different projects, have different perspectives of what's taking place across the organization. I'm someone who also really needs to feel that sense of personal connection at work. And so being able to feel like I have, you know, trusted relationships with people across all the departments in the organization that I work in makes me feel like I can be better set up to be successful because I know what's going on. I have someone I can reach out to, and that's going to enable me to do my work more effectively and honestly to have more fun. I really like to know the people I'm working with. If we just keep it work focused, I feel like we're missing part of the opportunity that we have to bring our full selves to work and to celebrate, birthdays or milestones or what have you. And so setting up some intentional time for coffee chats or even walks and talks. If you're like, I am on Zoom enough, I don't need more Zoom time, you can simply set up a 30-minute phone call. And then you and the other person can just go on a walk around your respective neighborhoods and spend some time talking, especially as we're starting to get into some better weather, at least here in Colorado. I'm trying to do that a lot more frequently to support, my wellness goal of getting up and moving, but then also staying connected to the people that I want to stay connected to.
Thanks so much, Sarah. That's awesome. And thank you to all you people who have submitted questions. Unfortunately, we only have time for one more today. But Christy, a question from Raina is, how do you get creative with your life when your plans don't go as you envisioned? How do we deal with disappointment in our work and our careers? What advice would you give?
Feel it deeply, and it's hard. I had some recent life changes, and grief is a part of our life. And whether it's a no from a job, or no, I didn't get promoted, or maybe it's a boyfriend or girlfriend broke up with you, or maybe a death, like disappointment will be a part of our life. And to be able to sit in the grief is is a skill set that I'm currently working on because it's hard. It's grief and disappointment is never like, you don't want to be disappointed about anything in life. And um but there's a lot of joy that you can find in the disappointment, or in the grief that you're experiencing. And um I feel like I keep going back to this, like, God, 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 but really truly, like, as I've been sitting in this stage right now of a stage of disappointment, it's going back to the Lord and saying, God, you know me. God, you know what I want. And God, I ultimately want what you want more. And like getting used to saying that, but then also like really meaning it. Um, and I invite others into your disappointment too. I am a verbal processor, and so my best friend, y'all feel bad for her because she gets a lot of this from me, of the random calls of like, I'm disappointed about this, or I'm frustrated or this, or whatever it might look like. But invite your community into it, because wading through disappointment and grief is it can be a beautiful thing even though it's hard. Don't give the devil any space to lie to you, and don't listen to any of the lies that he's going to try to tell you in those moments of disappointment, because he thinks he's sneaky, but he's not. He has the same old dumb trick that he just tries over and over and over, and so don't listen to him. And so um it's hard, and know that you're not alone in that, and know that you are loved, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and that God knows you and loves you, wants the best for you. And I'm like the perpetual like pessimist, so this is weird coming out of my mouth, but try to spin it around and like, okay, like what can I learn from this? And how can I take what I'm learning from XYZ, um and applying it to, maybe I need to work on this skill over here, or maybe I need to downgrade this passion I have over here that maybe isn't serving me well, or whatever it might be. Like, just take the time to reflect, but also to feel the feels. And also too, like sometimes if the disappointment's really big or the grief is really big, like reach out to a therapist. I have a wonderful therapist. Sometimes she's on speed dial, but that's really how I make it through life sometimes because it's just needed. Like it's just needed. So I hope that's helpful and know that you're not alone in the disappointment.
Wow. Thank you, ladies. This has been an amazing conversation. Thank you, Naomi, our producer, for those questions from our audience. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you all learned something. I hope you all come away with some wisdom and some great information that you can take on for the future. Some closing announcements. Just please look out for a follow-up email that will contain some fantastic resources from the Dupree Center and Women Work in Calling. We have more webinars this series. So if you know anyone who might enjoy our conversations for women in midlife or those in the third of their careers, you can please register for that or catch the replay of our webinar for mothers of young children, which is available in the video library on the WWC Women Work in Calling website. And please save the date because Women Work in Calling's annual event is Friday, November 7th, in person in Denver, Colorado, or online worldwide. So details are at womenworkincalling.com. Thank you again, Christy, Sarah, Women Work in Calling. This is amazing. I hope you all had an amazing time and we'll see you soon. Thank you for joining.